Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review. And now I'm taking a look at the Amstrad CPC version of Cop Out from Mikro-Gen. I've already reviewed the ZX Spectrum version and now I thought I'd take a look at the CPC version. And like in the Spectrum version, we get a rendition of Scott Joplin's The Entertainer on the menu screen. Although, because the Amstrad CPC has superior sound capabilities to the 48K Spectrum, this does admittedly have higher quality sound to it. So that's a good start. Left, right, up, down, fire. Let's give this a whirl. Well, the first thing I've noticed is that it's got Spectrum port written all over it. They may have coloured in the sprites, but, so it's not like they've literally just it's not like they literally just lifted the graphics and done nothing with them. They have added some colour to them, but that's not the point. And I noticed that the bottles that man throws and go noticeably slower in this version than they do in the Spectrum version. While I applaud them for adding a bit of colour to the sprites, it is still a shame that they've been lifted from the Spectrum version rather than being done from scratch. I'd still say this doesn't make the greatest use of the CPC's capabilities. I mean, I have seen some absolutely fantastic, brightly coloured graphics on the CPC, and sadly, this isn't the greatest use of its abilities. And I wouldn't say the sound was exactly great either. Well done, shoot for next level. I still, one question I asked in the Spectrum version, I'd still like to have answered. Why am I shooting birds? Since when did police officers, even in countries where where police officers were allowed to carry guns, when would they be going around shooting birds? And in this version, it's not as clear as to when you've hit someone. They just there's no sound effect when you die in this version. There is in the Spectrum version. That's a bit of a disappointment. You used to get the same falling over animation, but oh God. But at least the hit detection seems to be every bit as good as it is in the Spectrum version. Well, I should think so, because this is clearly very heavily based on it. Oh, no way! Well, that definitely didn't happen in the Spectrum version, where you could get killed almost instantly because you respawned at a point where something else could hit you instantly. For goodness sake, give people momentary invulnerability when they respawn. Yeah, never mind the fact I lost 2 lives in quick succession because I got killed by respawning right in front of a bullet and being given absolutely 0 in momentary invulnerability. Oh. Oh, no, damn it. I did a bit of a tight spot there. Yeah. Anyway, as in the Spectrum version, you really want to take particular note of that spinning bottle, which gives you momentary invulnerability. And as in the Spectrum version, if if you fired too many bullets in sequence, there is a pause before you can fire again. So you got a bit. Oh, damn it. I like the way that when you shoot that spinning bottle that gives you invulnerability, it makes the same sound as when you shoot a bird down. Ugh, still is. Ugh. Oh, damn it. Well done, shoot for next level. Oh, this is going to be hard with those people so close to the front. I would have preferred it if the enemies actually flashed or something like they did in the Spectrum version when you shot them, because them just freezing and disappearing isn't quite as descriptive, and it can make you look like you momentarily miss when you haven't, and that can cause unnecessary panic. Why do the bottles that guy throws go so much slower in this version? I mean, it's not like the rest of this. I mean, yeah, this is clearly clearly a bit of a Spectrum port, but at least it's not running at a snail's pace, which is quite often the case with these Spectrum ports when ported over to the Amstrad CPC. And let's face it, there have been more than a few of those. I mean, one particularly blatant one was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. They didn't even recolour all the graphics. They just kept it the same cyan that was in the original Spectrum version. And that was much slower. And don't even get me started on Double Dragon 3. But anyway, I'm deviating a bit. So that's Cop Out for the Amstrad CPC. It's still a fun game. It's just a bit of a shame that it's got Spectrum port written all over it. They may have recoloured the sprites, but they're still clearly exactly the same sprites as in the Spectrum version. So you're not fooling me. But I do like what they've done to this music. Now, this music is about the only thing that makes good use of the Amstrad's sound capabilities. Graphics are pretty disappointing. He's going to get a bit of a downgrade in my final verdict simply because it's a Spectrum port. Even though they've recoloured the sprites rather than the direct lift, it's still clearly based on the Spectrum version, and therefore doesn't make the greatest use of the Amstrad CPC's graphical capabilities. And there's no scrolling in it, and scrolling can be a bit of a problem for the CPC, so it's not like that they have to factor that into the equation. So sound, not quite as good a range in sound as there's on the Spectrum version. I mean, when you shoot the bottle and the bird, it seems to make pretty much the same sound as when you shoot the birds, for instance, and somehow the sounds aren't as convincing as in the Spectrum version either. Gameplay. Well, it plays much the same as the Spectrum version. The controls are responsive enough, and at least despite being a Spectrum port, it's not hugely slow like is quite often the case, as I just mentioned. That having been said, though, the bottles of that man that's always there throwing them, they go much slower in this version. And I would, as I said, I would have preferred it if there could have been a bit more visual animation of some kind, even just flashing like there was in the Spectrum version when you actually shot an enemy, because it freezing might make you momentarily think that it didn't work and you might waste bullets trying again, because although there's not limited ammo per se, if you fired too many bullets in succession, there is that notable 2 or 3 second or so pause before you can fire another bullet. So I think I'm going to give Cop Out for the Amstrad CPC 6 out of 10. Especially as the likelihood is that this would have cost more than the Spectrum version as well. So that too has meant I couldn't give it as high a mark as that version. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this review. Catch you on another one soon. Texie88 out.